Welcome to Ear to the Common Ground. Here, we celebrate the power of music and food to bring Americans together. Filmed from a historic barn on Cash Lane in Music City, each episode of Ear to the Common Ground features one musical artist and a diverse gathering of 8 of their fans. Everyone brings a dish to the table and they talk about one of the issues of the day, face to face, with compassion replacing contempt, as they keep their hearts, ears, and minds attuned to the common ground. We are Sweet Lizzy Project, and these are 8 of our fans: Cindy, Rocky, Felicia, Jennifer, Lourdes, Lori, Rick, and Omar. Tonight, we're focusing on abortion. Let's celebrate America's greatest diversity, diversity of thought, and shine a light on some common ground.
I know for myself, being pro-choice, that I'm a first trimester person.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah, because life is viable outside the womb at 15 weeks. So first trimester is prior to life being viable, right? And anything after that gets a little fuzzy for me.
I'll say with me, I found myself pregnant at 15. And the first question that I was asked after seeing the positive pregnancy test was, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So that was my first time having a choice. And I can't imagine having that taken away from me. And I don't find myself or anyone else godly enough to determine what someone else's choice should be. And so I'm very, very pro-choice because I had a choice.
I too had the choice. I was 18 years old and I made the choice. It was just so commonplace. I grew up in kind of inner cities, and I made a lot of other choices that weren't great at that time in my life. I made that choice, and for 10 years, I thought that it didn't really impact me. It was just a choice that I made, and I found myself kind of wrestling in this moment. I had been invited to a retreat, and I didn't really know what to expect there, and it was kind of like an altar call, and it was just like, hey, if there's anything that is just kind of like weighing on you, you want to come up and you want to get that off of you, and just something in my heart like almost dragged me out of my chair, and I audibly said no. No, I can't do this. But it came to my mind, and I realized that I had never thought much about that choice. But it wrestled me all the way to that altar. And so there I laid it down, and I realized that, it wasn't the best choice I could have made, but it was the only choice I knew to make at that time. And so now, as a mother of 2 young children, and, my life radically transformed, radically saved, and I've surrendered all of the guilt and the shame behind that choice. I'm 100% pro-life. However, I do think it's so touchy because it's so closely tied to your theological beliefs. And so that kind of opens up, I guess, the conversation a little bit, that it is hard, it is hard because you want to honor the person who makes that choice, no matter what the choice is.
So I've never had to make that choice, but I was very pro-choice when I was very young. And as I've gotten older and I've experienced things through friends, being from Cuba, I've had family members who were forced abortions in Cuba because they got pregnant at 13 in schools, and they didn't have a choice. So it was the opposite. It was the other extreme, where they were forced abortions. They were forced to have IUDs installed, and they came to this country at the age of 25, and they had horrible infections and pelvic inflammatory disease, and weren't even sure if they would be able to have children. So I don't judge anyone, and I think that, I kind of sit on the fence, and the older I get, I have boys, I don't have girls. It's like, why wouldn't someone give the guys an opportunity? Because my boys have always said, gosh, if a girl ever got pregnant, Mom, would you help? And I go, absolutely. So I see it now from a different point of view than when I was younger.
Yeah.
but I would never want to take the choice away from someone.
Well, I am pro-life. I was pregnant had 2 children by the time I was 18. My first child when I was 16, my second child when I was 18. And with my first child, honestly, I never considered it. I spoke to my older brother today about being here tonight, and he recalls all those years ago when I did become pregnant with my first child, and he recalls even my grandfather telling me, you need to go get an abortion. And my grandfather's one of the godliest men that I knew in my life, but my grandparents cared more about their reputation than they did about their granddaughter at the time. And so I made a choice to be a mom, and it was hard. I don't know where my life would be today if I had not made the choice to have 2 children. But I did, and I don't believe, for me, it's a political issue. It's a moral issue for me in my life, and the center of my life is my relationship with the Lord. And everything that I do in my life, that's what is first and foremost.
What happens from here to here is my business. It's mine.
Yeah.
It belongs to me. It does not belong to anybody else. The choice for what I do and the decisions I make on my body belong to nobody but me.
I've never been in my life directly involved with abortion. I can say when it comes to this particular topic that I've never seen another topic that is more divided, meaning that you have, for the most part, you have 2 different sides, and both of those sides are extremely passionate about their beliefs, whichever side that it is. I don't know that there's any middle ground. I may be the first person that is in that middle because I'm still educating myself.
I'm an OBGYN and delivered a couple thousand babies, a little bit more than that. When I was in residency training, I can count on one hand. We had, if I remember right, 7 or 8 residents a year, and it's a 4-year program. And I can count on one hand the number of OB residents that were pro-life. All the others were pro-choice, and we'd talk about it. And other residents would moonlight in abortion clinics, and come talk about the complications they had, and the rest of us would sort of cringe, about some of those. And there were experiences that I had in residency. Excuses would be made to terminate near-term babies. I mean, it's a complex issue, and it's not easy, and it's not. I mean, at one level, I feel like it's black and white, but in practical application, it's really not.
Oh, my
God. Bring it.
Look at this.
What is this?
I think we like the people leches.
Tres leches.
Yes.
Muchas gracias.
Yeah.
Okay,
Excellent.
you go first.
I will.
How exciting.
Very nice.
You don't have to pin my hair back.
Never have I ever.
Let's go.
Dreaming of a Revolution. Love. I love that song.
Fantastic.
And I love the fact that you did the album in both Spanish and English.
Thank you.
Talk about your inspiration a little bit
Yeah.
for that. I mean, I can imagine what your inspiration is, but I'd love to hear it from the 2 of you.
Very recently, things started to happen in Cuba. Like people started to, realize that they needed change, right? And then we started writing this new album. It's called Pirate Radio, and we were just working on it. We didn't think about putting songs out just yet, but then it was July 11th. It happened. It was, a lot of protests started happening in Cuba, and it was like people literally just opened their eyes. So we felt like we needed to contribute somehow, and music is what we have. That's why we have both languages for this album, and hopefully it'll help people around the world to know what is actually going on.
It It's an amazing
in
song.
Cuba.
It's
Thank
an
you.
amazing song.
I'm looking for a revolution, a treasure hunt, an illusion, a rabbit hole to go down and under, a wind of change to fly up with you. I'm looking for a revolution. You are looking for a revolution. Fear is gone, it's a new day. Dreams are floating in the air. We are looking for a revolution. Thinking of a revolution, a wake-up call, a solution, a magic pill to beat the monster, a wonderland to be free with you. Come on! I'm looking for a revolution. You are looking for a revolution. Fear is gone, it's a new day. Dreams are floating in the air. We are looking for a revolution. I'm looking for a revolution. You are looking for a revolution. No habrá nada que temer. Será un nuevo amanecer. We are looking for a revolution. Dreaming of a revolution. Dreaming of a revolution. Dreaming of a revolution.